Welcome everybody to Forza Motorsport, and today we're taking a look at the 1988 BMW M5. So just for a bit of context for why I'm reviewing this car, firstly I haven't reviewed it before and it is a bit of a classic car, so that's a main reason. But secondly, they also have the BMW month on Forza Motorsport, so a whole host of cars have been added to the showroom for the first time. There's a BMW Tour, and I figured since I've not reviewed this car, it would be a good way to start off the BMW month on Forza Motorsport. So this is the first ever M5, named the E28, and it's based on the 5 Series of the time. This M5 was produced between 1984 and 1988. Only 2,241 of these were produced, making it one of the rarest M cars going. I think the likes of the M1, for instance, were a lot rarer, but in terms of everyday kind of cars, one of the rarest out there. And yeah, they kept it quite simple. Powerful engine up front, 5-speed manual gearbox, and rear-wheel drive. But because it's obviously based on a standard 5 Series, it is a practical saloon car at the end of the day. So you've got clear instruments, you've got plenty of amenities, you've got your 5-speed manual in the middle there. And yeah, all looks really rather nice. And to be honest, the best thing about these older M cars is the fact that you'd have to be quite a car nerd to, quite frankly, discern between the difference between a normal 5 Series and this M5. Decent amount of legroom in the back as well, and a decent sized boot as on top of that. So yeah, the main differences for this in terms of the visuals outside of the normal 5 Series is obviously the twin exhausts, the rear spoiler, all of the M badges, and I think that's about it. There's probably something else that I'm missing, but they're the few parts that are really standing out to me. But yeah, the big obviously difference between this and a normal 5 Series is the engine. So it's a 3.5 litre inline 6, codenamed the M88/3, producing 282 horsepower and 251 pounds-feet of torque, which is a pretty decent amount for a car that only weighs 3,230 pounds. But this is actually an engine that is, in basic terms, is the same kind of engine that was from the M1 mid-engine sports car. Minor changes though were the different use of a different type of fuel injection was used, so that means this gets a bit extra power over the one in the M1, 5 extra horsepower and 8 extra pounds-feet of torque, which is obviously needed given this weighs 127 pounds more than that M1. So yeah, but quite frankly, to be 127 pounds more when you go, you got a bigger car, you got more practicality, is really rather a good sign that this car is one of those classics that didn't have an excess amount of stuff inside of it, but because of that, it also made for a much more rewarding driving experience because there was so little weight in the first place. So yeah, it's a fantastic looking thing as well. It's the classic BMW look, to be honest. It would obviously grow over time in terms of size. The grills would get bigger and you get more power and such, but this is all where it pretty much started for the M division in terms of these kind of powered saloons. And arguably this is the first sport saloon out there. Obviously there were quick saloon cars before this, the Ford Falcon that was only made once from 1972, which had well more 415 horsepower, 410 horsepower, something like that, but that was only a one-off. There were obviously some quite powerful Mercedes, but none of them were really all that sporty. I guess you could say in some respects the Jaguar Mark II would be a originator of the sports saloon, but I don't think that car quite inspired other companies quite the same way that this M5 did. Even though it didn't sell all that much, it was a great launching pad for the M division from BMW. But nonetheless, let's get out onto a track and see what this car can do. Right, we're on the Nürburgring GP Sprint circuit, so as per usual, hear what the car sounds like and then we'll talk about it some more. So yeah, despite not having the most amount of power from an M5 that we'll ever see, it's still quite a fiery little thing, this, because it doesn't weigh all that much. It is only rear wheel drive, you've not got any electronic stability controls working alongside it, you know, and such like that. It is a very raw kind of vehicle to drive, especially when you compare it to the modern day BMW M5, which has turbocharging and all-wheel drive and all sorts of other gizmos and such to keep you in check. This is, yeah, the complete opposite of that, and yeah, it means that yes, it can be a little bit tricky at times to handle, but it's also really rather rewarding once you do start to get a handle on it, and therefore makes it all the more, you know, satisfying to drive in the main. To be honest, it doesn't get boring whatsoever, quite frankly. So yeah, but at the end of the day, we are dealing with a car that is, yeah, not far off 40 years old. So yeah, there are parts of it that aren't going to have aged all that well. Brakes, for instance, are not the best, and even though it's not got the most catastrophic amount of body roll, there is some of it there. But there are parts of this that have aged quite well. Its engine sounds absolutely glorious, revs really rather nice highly there, practically 7,000 RPM rev limit, and it will also be it's pretty sharpish in terms of straight line speed as well. 0 to 60 is dealt with in only 5.8 seconds, 0 to 100 is dealt with in 14.5 seconds, and it will go to a top speed of 152 miles an hour, which, yeah, that top speed alone is still fairly competitive compared to some cars these days, and obviously a lot of cars from BMW and other German manufacturers are limited to 155, so it's not far off what most cars from that country are limited to. So yeah, that is still fairly good, and like I said, it is a rewarding car to drive as well. It's not got really any hints of understeer, it's just got a lot of oversteer that you really have to try and manage, but again, oversteer is easily manageable if you know it's coming, and yeah, this car is fairly predictable in terms of when it is going to slide out or not. You can, and because it is predictable, you can catch it. So yeah, no issues in that regard. Obviously the brakes could be better, but you know, we are dealing with late 80s technology here, so that's to be expected that they're not going to be the greatest, but quite frankly, yeah, it's still a really rather enjoyable sports saloon. It's an originator in a lot of ways. Like I said, it's not the first first saloon car to have a lot of power and a lot of speed and such, but I do feel like it was the one that really captured the imagination of the public, and also, you know, made other manufacturers sit up and say, maybe we should do the same thing, because it's no coincidence that, you know, you had your fast Audis not long after this, your Mercedes-Benz, even Jaguar were getting in on the action in the 90s with their supercharged XJ6s and stuff. So yeah, really fantastic car, and an originator, and one that is well worth the label of a classic, because not only is it a fantastic car that has aged quite well, but also it is an originator in a lot of ways, just like, you know, your well, I guess you could say your classic British sports cars of the day that would inspire, you know, you like to see Mazda Miatas and stuff, and that would spur on the whole sports car, you know, revolution of the early 90s onwards. So yeah, but a fantastic vehicle in its own right, and yeah, I'm really rather glad that I finally got around to reviewing it. I'm surprised I haven't until now, but this BMW monthly event on Forza Motorsport has inspired me towards a review of a BMW, so there are plenty more of those to come. But nonetheless, thank you for watching, and I'll see you with the next one. Bye.